The Dark Souls series of games is truly one that doesn't really need much of an introduction. Chances are, if you've been on the internet, you've heard of the series. And over the past decade, From Software has truly completely changed the landscape of gaming as a whole. And with the release of Elden Ring, the series reached a wider audience than we've ever seen before. Elden Ring alone has almost sold more copies than the entire Souls series combined, and that's including the re-releases of Dark Souls Remastered and Dark Souls 2 Shadows of Sin Edition, respectively. Now, the term Souls-like has kind of been thrown around everywhere and has been used countless times in clickbait articles, and Souls-like even now has its own tab dedicated on Steam. Also, many different diverse developers have tried putting their own spin on the genre, with the most two recent examples being Lies of P and the Lords of the Fallen remake. Now, there is one official Souls game that came out between Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3, and that game was Slashy Souls. Now, I've talked to many people who love Dark Souls games to death, and not one of them even remembers or even knew the game existed in the first place. Now, in collaboration with GameStop, of all companies, Bandai Namco released Slashy Souls on February 28th, 2016, just roughly 2 months before the global release of Dark Souls 3. My first time learning about Slashy Souls was when I walked into GameStop around March 2016 to pre-order Dark Souls 3 when I saw this trailer for it. Now, as you can tell by the trailer, something about the game just feels and looks really off and low effort. And that's, well, because it was. Bandai is no stranger to putting extremely low effort into things. Just look at Dark Souls Remastered. That game was a sad excuse for a glorified port. Now, for some reason, Bandai thought the best way to get people hyped for Dark Souls 3 was to make an endless runner Souls game with some throwback bosses and enemies from Dark Souls 1. The game was met with really low reviews from confused users, and the game is just very clunky and has terrible movement and animations that didn't really help its case at all. It left everyone just feeling really off, and to make things worse, the game was only available in a small number of countries due to the collaboration being with GameStop. GameStop isn't in every country, so it was really only limited to the US, Canada, Australia, and most of Europe. Now, as I said, the game is an endless runner, so if you just stand still for a while, you just get taken by this weird fog and die.
What the fuck? Oh shit! You can like chill in the fog and it kills you. Alright, so there's like a fog that comes up if you camp in the bank.
The only real good thing about this game is the pixel art style, and some of the backdrops do look nice as well. You get to see these nice backdrops of Anne Orlando, which does look very clean, and the other two being Darkroot Garden, and what I think is meant to be the depths from Dark Souls 1. Now, for some reason, there's no areas included from Dark Souls 2, which is really weird considering the character model is based off of the Faram set from that game. Now, the background track is alright, I guess. It's just kind of a chiptune version of the Dark Souls 3 title screen music, which I guess is serviceable. The enemies you can find are just your standard hollows of various sizes, and occasionally you get attacked by some random gargoyles in a bowl. Now, somehow, and for some reason, the series known for its boss fights, Bandai only made 2 whole bosses for this game, those being Gravelord Nito and Smo. Again, for some reason lacking any and all content from Dark Souls 2. Now, every time you die, you'll get this pop-up to go to Bandai's website to pre-order Dark Souls 2, respawn, or go to the main menu. And since that doesn't really work anymore, you can just, you could subscribe instead. Now, the game did have a global leaderboard, which is kind of neat, I guess. It also had a set of 25 badges to collect, which I guess acted as achievements in a way to track your progress through the game. Now, it is really hard trying to find information on this game, and the website that I found the badges on doesn't even have Smo listed as a boss for some reason. However, I did try to play the game for myself, but I think the APK ROM is just so old where it doesn't really function properly. And this would happen every time I tried to play the game. Oh god. Here we go. This is real gameplay right here. What? Oh, it's Nito! Oh. Yeah, it sounds like a demon is trying to crawl out of my PC, and I tried for like 2 hours to try to figure out the problem, and I just couldn't figure out what was causing this to happen. Now, the fate of Slashy Souls is kind of one that makes a lot of sense. The game's whole existence was just to advertise another game's existence. So, shortly after Dark Souls 3 released, the message in-game changed from pre-order to buy Dark Souls 3, and then shortly after that, the game was removed from the App Store. Now, if any of you are interested in playing the game for yourself, I did provide a mobile emulator and the APK file in the description. Now, download at your own risk, but it did work perfectly fine for me. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed learning about the official mobile Dark Souls game, and I'll see you in the next one.